Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church on this glorious day, bursting with miracles, not only in Chicago for Cub fans, not only in Salt Lake City for Ute fans, but there's this miracle across the country, relieved that the presidential campaign is finally going to come to an end. Oh, now, God. No more debates. We will no longer be subjected to these horrible, horrible 90 minutes of torment. We're going to be spared. Hopefully no more in the history of this country will we have to be subjected to that. And so when it all is said and done on November 9th and the loser has conceded, we will look at our windows and note that the trees will be mostly bare, the autumn on its way out, and we'll be making preparations for the winter that lies in wait. But today is magnificent. Autumn, miraculously, seems to hold on. Fading colors still flaunt the skies. We behold the mystery of life, the cycle of the seasons, the joyous dance of the atoms through endless time. Symbol of light and of knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. May we open our service, turning our hymn books, please, to number 52. Don't you agree that's one of our more inspiring hymns that we're singing? I wonder if the choir noted that David played that hymn a lot faster than at 9 o'clock. Thank you. We got through that. Now, we're soon going to hear a choral selection that will be familiar to many of us. It's called, "Have I Done Any Good in the World Today?" Now, you might say it's a period piece written about the turn of the century, or actually even a couple of years before. And many may say, oh, yeah, that's a Mormon hymn, one that you may have grown up with. But in fact, the lyrics and the music were not written by a Mormon. The song was actually adopted, we might say, by the LDS faith, much in the same manner in how the Unitarians have adopted Morning Has Broken. It's kind of become a Unitarian anthem, like it or not. The choir will sing, "Have I done any good in the world today?" because it has a bit of a Unitarian bent to it after all. The music was arranged by our own David Zabriskie, although he did so many years ago, specially arranged for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. My, how times have changed. But I wouldn't be surprised if David Zabriskie was secretly hoping that one day the chancel choir of the First Unitarian Church would be singing his arrangement. But mainly, regardless who wrote the hymn or who sings it, it raises an important question. Have I done any good in the world today? May we take a moment to unite our minds and our hearts in the spirit of prayer and meditation and reflection. O Spirit of life and love, may we recall the poetic insights by one of our forebears, Ralph Waldo Emerson. He reminds us that the highest dwells within us. He says and points out so clearly that there is no ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens. There is deep power in which we exist and whose beauty is accessible to us all. O Spirit of love, help us recognize the deep power in which we exist. Help us to understand its commands and the need upon us to guide this planet to a more peaceful and equitable existence. Help us to discern what doing good really means. If we focus on the needs of others, so may we restore our soul to a blessed harmony. Help us discern the central task of religion to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. And tearing down the walls of separation, in recognizing that we are all kin, in choosing to live with compassion, we will come to know that life's goodness lies always at our fingertips. We will come to know that it's only through our determination and will, our selfless love and helping hands, that we come to feel the power in which we exist and can thereby extend blessings to all whom we meet. Our reading this morning is by Michael Moran, who is a minister for the Unity Church. And I can't begin to tell you how often, after a church service here, someone's new and I speak to them and I say, gee, are you new to Unitarianism? And they say, Unitarianism? I was looking for the Unity Church. I said, no, this is Unitarian. They say, well, where is the Unity Church? I was like, goodbye, see you. Thanks for dropping in. And we get confused all the time. Really quite different. But I like what he has to say in this particular reading. One of my favorite cartoons shows Charlie Brown standing on top of Snoopy's doghouse with his arms outstretched and his mouth wide open as he looks up at the vastness of the night sky, shouting, God, I love all humanity. It's the people I can't stand. Haven't we all felt that way at one time or another? Charlie had probably just had a run-in with his nemesis Lucy, and his faith in all things human was challenged. Being kind, loving, civil, compassionate, and spiritual will be so much easier if only we didn't have to deal with certain people, and you know who they are in your life. Recently, I was feeling very centered and peaceful and just loving life in general, and then I unexpectedly encountered one of those people in my life, and my sense of serenity went south in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, my heart started racing, my mind started up, its monkey chattering, and I was mentally rehearsing what I would have said, could have said, and will say the next time. My inner atmosphere suddenly changed from sunny and clear to overcast with major storm warnings. Fortunately, I caught myself fairly quickly, and the thought crossed my mind, gee, where did that peaceful spiritual guy who loves all of life go all of a sudden? Why are you letting someone's opinions, judgments, ruin your day? It made me blush a bit with embarrassment. I realized I had more healing work to do. I'm amused by how spirit works if I am open to hearing its voice. In the midst of my inner temper tantrum, the voice of reason spoke to me, not with an answer, but with a question about why I was letting someone steal my peace. Within a brief time, I was laughing at myself and feeling suitably humbled. I remembered that I had a choice. So I consciously blessed the person who triggered my automatic irritation. And I was reminded of a bumper sticker that reads, "It is easy to be an angel when no one is ruffling your feathers." Thank you, choir, and Holly and David. It's wonderful. Can't help but notice that there are actually a lot of new people who are here for the very first time. I want to extend a special welcome to them and hope that they're really not looking for the Unity Church, but they are in the right pew this morning. I hope so. And I hope that all of us have a chance to look at the announcements and the order of service. They really are kind of a clarion call to all of the magnificent things this church is involved with, not just in community work, but also providing opportunities for people to get better connected within this wonderful community. Let me just point out a couple of time-sensitive things, starting with tomorrow. Tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8:30, Reverend Matthew Cockrum and I will be doing an orientation to Unitarian Universalism. We're going to touch upon some theology, some history, some specifics about this church and its history. And it's just a wonderful and actually fun way to learn a little bit more in the denomination that you're exploring, and also a great opportunity to get to know other new people who are on this exciting venture of searching for a religious home. So tomorrow at 6:30, right in that social hall. If you think you may be coming, please sign up on the sheet, which is on the far east wall in the social hall, and hope to see you tomorrow. We just want to get an idea of how many people to expect. It'll be great to host you. So that's tomorrow, Monday. On Tuesday, our religious education Halloween party, which is going to be a lot of fun and also feature, the climax will be our kids and the adults who are there going to Friendship Manor to sing a few spooky songs. Are they going to be really scary songs, David, that we're going to? Oh, okay. I hope there are going to be no heart attacks over there in Friendship Manor. Saturday, if you're interested in helping to beautify this lovely state, highway cleanup, please meet here at the church at 9 o'clock and carpool up to the site. It's only about 10 minutes from here. And your efforts will be very much appreciated. And then let me say that on Sunday, next Sunday, the 30th, we will start our 28th season of Jazz Vespers. It'll be a great opportunity if you have never gone to a Jazz Vespers in these 28 seasons. We can start off next Sunday. Program starts at 7:30, and it will feature the album, actually, Kind of Blue, which is the largest selling jazz album of all times. And we're going to feature on the trumpet Chris Johnson, who is now in his second year as jazz director, the program at the University of Utah. I just want to conclude with one thing that happened to me Wednesday. I was at the governor's clergy luncheon held at the mansion. And it was a really nice vibe. This is, invitations extended to ministry throughout the whole state. A minister from St. George to Logan, of course, a lot from Salt Lake City. The governor kindly reminded us of our similarities, that we were all on God's team together. And it was duly noted. And the rabbi from Park City and I said, thank you. But it was actually a very nice luncheon, and it was hosted by Pamela Atkinson, who is, if you don't know Pamela, she is really the quintessential interfaith worker. For decades, she has worked so hard in bringing the faith communities together in doing good work. And as she was doing her moderating shtick, she reminded all the clergy and thanked all the clergy for the good works that they all do in their respective communities. And then she singled out, it was a complete surprise, there were 8 round tables of 8 clergy, so there were 64 tables there at the governor's mansion. She singled out 2 congregations. One was Calvary Baptist, and thanked them for their work, and the other one was First Unitarian Church for their work with refugees. And let me tell you, I have never been more proud. It was just a wonderful feeling. And so I thank all of you who worked so hard with the refugee population, and apparently, the word is out. The offering will now graciously be received, and a time to greet one another and bid each other a good morning. I'd like to begin by offering some contrasting ways in which people express their search and yearning for living a meaningful life. The choir this morning chose a popular Mormon hymn called "Have I Done Any Good?", which poses a question that surely everybody asks, regardless of where they are on the religious spectrum. Especially in this era of an unsettling disparity in incomes and opportunities, the hymn raises a good question, if not a disturbing one. Have I helped anyone in need? Of course, there are many ways of expressing this existential question, which seeks to measure the quality of our lives. Bob Marley and the Wailers addressed this concern back in their 1977 hit song called "Exodus." The rhythm is a little more lively than a Mormon hymn, and the lyrics offer a context in which we ask the profound questions pertaining to a meaningful life. The song describes all of us as walking the road of creation. Isn't that a lovely image? Walking our life paths. Marley sings about the movement of the people, the Exodus, the movement of the people, all walking the road of creation in this Exodus. And then he raises the question, open your eyes and look within. Are you satisfied with the life you are living? So the Mormons ask, have I done any good? Bob Marley, a Rastafarian, asks if you're satisfied with the life you're living. Different rhythms, different lyrics, similar intent. Rastafarian, for those who are not quite sure what that is, let me explain briefly. It is a Christian-influenced religion with a loose, flexible set of beliefs revolving around the use of marijuana. And they believe that Eastern Africa was God's favorite land. In fact, they refer to it as Zion. Many Unitarians might be well inclined to accept the notion of loose beliefs affected by marijuana. But my question is whether the loose and flexible belief system comes before or after you inhale. I don't know. When does it become loose? Are you satisfied with the life you are living? Has been fodder for sermons from the beginning of time, although no one knows exactly who preached the first sermon. What an interesting exploration that would be. Who preached the first sermon? Recently, a sermon was featured in the New York Times delivered by Rabbi Kenneth Berger for Yom Kippur services many years ago. During the high holy days, Jews are asked to take stock of their souls. Have you done any good? Are you satisfied with the life you are living? Have you taken stock of your soul? Rabbi Berger used the explosion of the space shuttle Challenger as his sermon illustration. There was a new revelation related to the explosion, that the 7 astronauts had remained alive for the 65,000-foot fall into the ocean. And the rabbi titled his homily, 5 Minutes to Live. And so he raises this question, what would be going through your mind in this perilous situation? Would you be thinking, oh, if only I, if only I, and then the capsule hits the water and it's over? The rabbi concluded, you realize it's all the same. 5 minutes, 5 days, 50 years, it's all the same, for it's over before we realize. If I only knew it may be the last time. If I only realized. So, yes, he says, stop. Appreciate the blessings you have. You despair, if only I could, but you still can. You've got today. 3 years later, Rabbi Berger and his wife died in a plane crash, killing 113 passengers. Taking stock of one's soul is a universally spiritual necessity, practically a requirement among all religions. Catholics participate in confession, formerly called the Sacrament of Reconciliation. Muslims call the process of repentance by their Arabic name, meaning turning back. And I get this image of turning back the hands of time to where I was before I failed to take stock of my soul. Turning back to where I was before I failed to reconcile with a neighbor or family member. To where I was before the 5-minute countdown to all I had left to live. Open your eyes and look inside. Are you satisfied with the life you are living? Reconciliation plays a pivotal role in taking stock of one's soul. Yes, appreciation of our blessings is a helpful exercise to begin to open one's eyes. But without reconciliation, there is this constant gnawing inside our souls that prevent us from embracing life more peaceably. During my first year of ministry, I wrote a newsletter column which deeply offended an elderly spinster in the congregation. Now, I never use the word spinster because I deplore it. It's like calling a woman nasty. But she fit the stereotype down to her name, Hilda. Hilda's brother and his wife were also members in the congregation, and they dismissed my indiscretion as just youthful ignorance. But not Hilda, who resigned from the church with utter indignation. Initially, I was going to teach Hilda a lesson. Let her abandon her church affiliation, which was part of her New England family legacy for generations. Go ahead. Okay. But it bothered me. I lost sleep until I made an effort to repair the relationship. I scheduled an appointment to see her, thinking it was best than just dropping in. So I called her, and she granted me an audience. I offered her a great deal of contrition for my foolish ways, and surprisingly, she confessed that she felt a bit ridiculous at how she was handling it. Big hugs at the conclusion of our summit meeting. The next week, the very next week, her brother dropped dead of a heart attack. Totally unexpected. It's over before we realize. 5 minutes, 5 days, 50 years, it's all the same. Hilda and her sister-in-law and I planned the memorial. We had genuine affection and trust in one another. I could not imagine how we would have proceeded without having first reconciled. And so I vowed at age 26 to make an effort to resolve all these kinds of conflicts. I've succeeded mostly, not always, but I learned that holding on to resentments is never a good thing. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. This is one of the few lines people actually remember from the Sermon on the Mount. Perhaps it's because it represents doing good. Perhaps it reflects on how satisfying our lives would be if we created peace. Perhaps if we had but 5 minutes to live, we would not taste the bitterness of our grudges. Blessed are the peacemakers. You know, it's curious to learn that Jesus uttered those lines at a time when there wasn't even a war going on. He made no call for disarmament or pacifism. The intent was to address the stupid little conflicts that engulf us all. Jesus meant end the disputes within the community, strengthen your relationships, be reconciled with one another. Blessed are the peacemakers. Now, this verse was famously misprinted in the second edition of the Geneva Bible as, "Blessed are the placemakers." Well, this was parodied in Monty Python's Life of Brian, when the crowd listening to the Sermon on the Mount understood, "Blessed are the cheesemakers." Because everyone was confused about, what does that mean? Good God. But even if we get the words right, blessed are the peacemakers, there's still some uncertainty about what that really means. Now, it's my observation, and probably yours too, that people would rather hold on to their resentments than take the first step towards reconciliation. We collect resentments, slights, wrongs, and place them in our evidence box. How nice to have proof to account for why we're right and the other is wrong and terrible and undeserving of repairing the relationship. If you want to ask me why I'm behaving the way I am, it's because, well, I got these records. I can show you right here. I keep good records. C.S. Lewis, in his play The Great Divorce, refers to this evidence box we keep as souvenirs from hell. Every time we bring up an incident of the past and we get all huffy and incensed, we get to revisit hell. But more to the point, how often do we stubbornly hang on to stuff expecting the other to reach out first in order to reconcile? don't we have the good sense to take the first step ourselves? Because taking the first step is the first step moving us out of hell. Taking the first step will also relax your muscles, stop the headache, and return a certain lightness to your being. The peacemaker earns his or her distinction as a child of God because by taking the first step, you create a more peaceful world. The barriers to repairing what's been broken are obvious. We've all experienced them. Pride remains probably one of the big issues. It kind of undermines our taking that first step back to healing. Pride. Sometimes, we like to remain angry. We feel it proves our point. We may perceive taking the first step as a sign of weakness. How wrong is that? But it sure clarifies the idea. Blessed are the peacemakers, and then you would want to add, blessed are the peacemakers because of their courage. Doesn't it boggle the mind how many of us, most of us, live with unhealed wounds? Something constrains us to resume a relationship after it's been severed by conflict. Starting a new relationship is easy, clean slate, fresh beginning. But to repair that which has been broken, creating a new response to someone, that's a place we are reluctant to go. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of taking the first step as a matter of faith. He said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And it really does involve faith. To believe that by taking the first step, the second one will be accessible. Not every first step will bear fruit like my good fortunes with Hilda. But I will tell you this, having taken the first step, successful or not, helped clear the air when subsequent events forced me to meet with the person with whom I had a conflict. It allowed me a new sense of freedom to be in the presence of the other with a clear conscience. It was sufficient knowing I made an effort to bring peace to the table. We all walk the road of creation, and we have a divine responsibility to open our eyes and look within. There is so much for us to tend to. We must ask, have I helped anyone in need? Have I made the world more peaceful? Can I find a certain calm in knowing I only have 5 minutes left to live? So be it. Can we close our service this morning, turning our hymn books, please, to number 346. As we extinguish the chalice, may we close with these very brief words by Marion Williamson. She says, "We are not held back by the love we didn't receive in the past. We are held back by the love we are not extending to the present." Amen.